Hey there YouTube, Travis here. So we are out here in my partially demoed bathroom. And I wanted to make this video today because, this house was built in 1910 and I'm tearing into a lot of it and I'm finding some really interesting things that I think we can correlate to the history of this house, figure out when this bathroom was originally put together, and kind of explain why some decisions were made over the years as to repair it the way that it was done. But first, let's take a step backward. When I first moved into this house, again, this house was a major fixer. This is the only bathroom in the house at the time. And coming in here, you had to squeeze between the shower pan and the vanity sink, and the toilet was it still is on a serious lean of about 3 inches from one end of the wall to the other. So you're really doing a lean back on the toilet. And it had this plastic stuff over top of some plywood. And tearing into this ended up being really the most difficult thing to take out, because there was glue, some sort of epoxy, in between the plywood and the sheeting. And I really had to jam my drill in there to get those screws out because it was impossible to pull it out otherwise. I was sawing it in bits. The screws would strip out, obviously. This was a really labor-intensive part of the demolition, and it took a lot longer than I thought it would, but that's always the case with home repair. And so now we're here. All I've done is remove the plywood and the plastic over top, and this is exactly what was underneath. I've taken out the shower pan also that was here, but really that's it. So this is just one part of the bathroom demolition. My eventual goal is to have a tub surround running lengthwise in the back, toilet, and then sink here. Much more efficient use of this space. And I'm gutting this bathroom for a couple reasons. I really expect a lot of this stuff underneath to be rotted, and for sure the original 1910 lumber is definitely all rotten away. Someone came back in here around 2015 and they sistered these studs. But I knew there was going to be a lot of rotten wood, definitely on the floor. And I'm repurposing everything, and I'm repiping this whole house. So this was a really good time to gut it. When I started taking some things apart, well, we found some really cool stuff. This was the wallpaper, and the rest of it is just painted over wallpaper. But man, it's a shame. This is really cool, this design. I'm going to take a razor blade and cut this out and put it in a small frame. It'll go somewhere, but that's pretty neat. There was originally 2 lights here also. And I've got those right here. We've got a really weird problem though. With these lights, the neutral, the white wire is hot, and the black wire is not hot. So we have a reverse polarity issue somewhere with our wiring here. So it's breaker number 19. I wrote it down. I'm going to go through everything else back to the panel and figure out where our problem is. But that was interesting. That's been wired like that. So to really step back here, obviously this was a 5-foot enclosure here. There was just a shower pan here and then that plastic paneling up, but clearly there was some sort of tub here before. So looking at the wood on the walls, I'm trying to see if it can help tell a story. So obviously we have our very dark wood right here. That's this stuff, that's this stuff. And my guess is that that's original to the house, to 1910. It's pretty cool. You can look at this wood side by side. These are both, probably 2x4s that were cut down, but this is 2 inches wide, properly 2 inches, just a hair under if we put a measuring tape to it. But this is nominal size. So if you went to Lowe's or Home Depot or any box store and bought some 2x4s, they're a lot less than 2 inches. It's just interesting. So we've got our old wood here. And so obviously at some point, these studs ran floor to ceiling. I'm making that guess because those big old nails that are coming down from the top piece of wood that runs across. So originally, my guess is there was no window here at all, and these studs ran the entire length or if there was a window, it was much smaller. So my guess is that originally this was enclosed. This structure, my other guess is that there was a series of renovations made to this house around 1970. I'm basing that on the date on some insulation in the attic, a date on the back concrete area, and some of the same wood and construction designs that are used on the downstairs bedroom. In this structure, obviously closed off in this little cavity here, this part of the room. And we can see there's some wallpaper here that's been torn down in at least 3 or 4 different shades of paint. So you've got green, pink, blue, some ivory color there. So at some point, I think this always was a bathroom, but it was probably much more simple. This is our lath and plaster wall behind all of that, and there was lath and plaster here too. You can see all the nails in this wood where those strips of wooden lath went across, and for sure up here in the corner you can see where it was just, you know, broken and taken away. So originally this was a solid wall just like that. This was probably just a properly square room. It might have had a clawfoot tub in it perhaps. But around 1970 or so, this enclosure was built, this 5-foot enclosure, and probably a cast iron tub, and perhaps some cement board and some tile was placed here. You had your cool hippie wallpaper, and you had this floor, which was also underneath a sheet of plywood and some modern linoleum over top. You have evidence here that there was a couple different toilets here where this was. And at that time, in 1970, you know, this tub was in here, and this copper was also redone up to here. That's a modern shark bite PEX, I'm guessing. And you also had this, I don't know, the drywall on the other side of this structure. Actually, there's a little bit here too. So this is obviously not lath and plaster. This is a type of drywall, and we can see our hippie wallpaper poking through there. This, I don't know if it's gypsum board, button board, but I believe it's between when you had lath and plaster, so wooden lath and plaster over top, and modern drywall as we know it. You had this board, which still had to have a little bit of plaster put over it. And I can read through here, can make out where it's fire resistant up there on that lettering, and also just based on, it's not going to come out in the camera now, but down here you see the silvery strands. I'm fairly certain that this is a asbestos contained building material. So this room's been sitting for a couple days. I'm in here without my gear on right now, but I have a full respirator and Tyvek suit, and when I go to pull all of this wallboard down, I'm going to wet it down real good and plastic off the room and be very careful. But you can also see there's our lath and plaster wall right there, and they've gone over it with this gypsum board or whatever it is. And then it was gone over again by the plywood wall that was here. You can see, poking through there, there's our vent pipe up out of the house for the toilet drain. Currently those are being held together by a coat hanger, and it's really trying to hold the toilet drain from falling over there. It's done a good job for now, but when the house is repiped and the drains are redone, that's all going to be cut back and it's all going to go away. And here, my guess is that there was probably some sort of small wall-mounted sink back in 1970 based on this, it's like piece of wood that was there as a support. The vanity came out of some RV or something. It was really small. That's much newer. So originally, this was probably a pretty neat little bathroom up until it was completely painted over and some really inferior components went in there. And my goal is to repurpose this bathroom to make it nice, easy to move around in. I'm still working here. I've got this 70s era linoleum floor to pull up. This bathroom is indeed over top of a crawl space, which is accessed from the outside of the house. So I'm going to have all of this tore up, and then we're going to go back to basics. I have a theory that this bottom plate here is very, very rotted, especially behind the toilet where the floor is very warped. There was that hole was here when I pulled the wood away, so there's clearly been a lot of damage, and this is my opportunity to get everything out and make it right. I don't know if it's going to come out in camera, but man, there is not a lot of straight lines. This is all on quite the slant, and when I go to take down the roof, there's a bit of a bulge in the ceiling right there, and even pulling down some trim from up there, lots of rat droppings were coming down on me, so it's definitely going to be quite the adventure. I have a feeling that there was definitely a larger window here. This is some of the old timber, so that header was there. There may have been a smaller window, a bigger window. It's hard to say. This remodel is being done on an extreme budget, so we're probably going to keep that window there and just run with it for now. But anyway, YouTube, I thought that you'd appreciate this quick little look into what's really hiding behind your walls. You know, this house has been here for 110 years now. And anyway, YouTube, hope you enjoyed that quick little look. You'll see little bits of this house in some of my future videos. But for now, until next time.